How should we respond in times of crises and in difficult situations? There is a story in the Bible from the life of Jesus where Jesus is on his way to a garden, and he has a few of his closest friends, his closest disciples with him. And at one stage, he turns to them and he says, "Hey guys, I want you to wait over here. I'm going to go over there. I need to pray by myself." Now, the disciples at this stage were in a very difficult situation. They were very unsure about the future. They were very anxious. They were experiencing high levels of stress because they sensed that something terrible was going to happen. And in this situation, Jesus turns to them and he gives them two commands. He says, "I want you to watch and to pray." Right? I want you to do what's normal and natural. Watch, keep your eyes open, look for physical threats. And at the same time, I want you to pray because there are unseen forces at work that you might not be aware of. I want you to do what's natural, and I want you to do what's supernatural. Now, many people watching this video are maybe in a similar situation that the disciples were all those years ago. We're experiencing great levels of anxiety and stress. We're unsure about the future. In the time that I'm recording this video, hundreds of thousands of people are sick. And thousands in the continent of Europe alone have already died because of the coronavirus. And so how do we respond? Our people are watching us to see how we respond. And I think there are two extremes that you could follow. On the one hand, maybe if you're a person of faith, you might be tempted to over-spiritualize the situation, right? To maybe downplay its seriousness, say, oh, it's no big deal. Or even if it is a big deal, God is my protection. Sickness cannot touch me. I will simply proclaim the words of the Bible over my life. I will wash my hands if I remember, but that's not really the big deal. The primary weapon we need is prayer. The real battle is a spiritual battle. That's one possible response to the situation. And on the other end of the spectrum, the other extreme might be if you're a person of little faith or a person maybe of no faith, you might be tempted to under-spiritualize the situation. To say, well, the only thing that really counts is what the scientists say, what the nurses and the doctors say. I'm going to follow the health guidelines. I'm going to exercise personal hygiene, social distancing. I'm not going to care about all this God stuff or the religious mumbo jumbo. That is not a bad start to say, I want to, do what the health officials say. I want to wash my hands and exercise social distancing. That is a very good and a very wise thing to do. But the Bible goes further. The Bible gives us a more nuanced picture. The Bible says, watch and pray. Because there is a God who has control over every molecule, every germ, and every virus in the universe. And sometimes people today oftentimes think that science and faith are these two kind of opposites, and that they're arch enemies always fighting against each other. And if you're a person of faith, you have no faith in science. And if you're a person of science, you have no faith. I don't think that's true at all. And I think historically, most scientists also did not think that. This week I discovered this quote from Louis Pasteur. He was the French microbiologist who actually discovered the reality of germs. He proved the germ theory of disease. He discovered that little pathogens that you cannot see with your eyes, you need a microscope, they are the true cause of illness. He discovered that in the 19th century. And this pioneer of science at one stage said the following. He said, "A bit of science distances one from God, but much science brings one near to him. And the more I study nature, the more I stand amazed at the work of the Creator." That's an incredible thing to say for this scientific pioneer. What does this mean for us today? It means where we are, if you're watching this video in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak in Europe, if you want to be true to the Bible, you should wash your hands and you should pray, right? You should watch and you should pray. Don't be tempted to over-spiritualize the situation and unwisely ignore the advice from experts, from doctors, from nurses, from scientists. God uses these people, and it's unwise for us not to listen to their advice and to follow it. And at the other extreme, don't be tempted to live like a practical atheist, to pretend like there's nothing in the unseen world going on. Maybe you pay lip service to the idea of God, but it's not reflected in the fact that you actually pray and that you actually ask Him to help you and to help with this situation. Very practically, a way that we can do this is we can pray for the medical community. That's a way that we can bring both of these things together in one unselfish act, one selfless act. You can pray for the medical community in this time. These are the true heroes, right? Our heroes at the moment are not the celebrities or the sports stars or those with the best looks and the best jobs. But they are the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare workers and the scientists who are fighting day after day, working multiple shifts to help people who are sick and who are dying. And I encourage you to think of them and to intercede, come before God as you pray for them.